Welcome to the very first Chat and Chill episode of the Zoneheads Orlando podcast, dropping every Wednesday from now until eternity. It's going to be the one podcast that doesn't die. And if we are going to chat and chill properly, there really isn't a better person to talk to than my former co-host in Orlando, the great and powerful Toz, a.k.a. 2K Toz. Mike Tozzi, my friend, how are you?
Oh, it's an honor to be here. I didn't realize this was episode 1. I feel all the more honored. I'm here for episode
Technically,
1.
yes and no. So this is technically episode 3 of this iteration of the podcast, but this is so every Wednesday I'm going to drop an episode that's titled Chat and Chill, which is exactly what we're doing. We're just kicking back, talking sports. That's the Wednesday. So we get started on Tuesday. We got our guy Sean Green that delivers a hard-hitting UCF report.
Gotcha.
And then Chat and Chill on Wednesday. Our guy Greg Rhodes, chief of Zonehead Nation, has a Thursday episode that he's going to drop called Underreported, where he talks about all the weirdo sports that he's into. And then Friday, I'm going to throw together a compilation of my hottest takes from In the Zone. So that's the schedule rundown. But you are the first guest. When I thought of Chat and Chill, what do I want that vibe to be like?
Yeah, this would be that iteration of the podcast. I think it's a good fit. That's what I do.
Yeah.
Very casual.
Exactly. I was actually this feed that we're on has archived episodes because I just updated the RSS feed, as they call it in the podcast business, from the last one we had where it was called Florida Bets. And that was when you were on the show, and we would just take a segment of In the Zone and just talk about Florida sports betting, no matter what was going on, college basketball, college football, NFL, and we would just isolate the Florida teams. So and I kept those episodes on there just to have sort of a library of content. And I went back and I just listened to a segment of you and I. It's so funny going back and listening to yourself and listening to your betting analysis for something that's already taken place like a year ago, and how on the money you are with certain takes and how completely off the wall you are with other ones. But both of us were sort of like, we were hitting and missing at the plate.
During the radio show, we do the bold weekend predictions, and I couldn't wait to get back in that studio on Monday when I saw things going well. And when I saw things going the opposite way, I was like, maybe we can ignore this one. But yeah, I've had some of the best and worst calls in my betting career. Been on the player prop wagon these days. I try to sneak in and duck out. If it becomes an everyday lifestyle, I'm just going to lose money. But kind of sharpening the knives for March Madness these days.
I mean, that's what it's all about. I want to talk Orlando Magic basketball, and I want to get your thoughts on a couple of guys as we enter into the NFL draft and all of that. I'm sure that at some point we'll talk Yanks and Orioles. I have an Orioles shirt on. You've got a Yankee hat on, so this is perfect synergy in the AL East.
The 96, I'm like,
oh, wow.
Here, and this is the 96.
96. Was that the year that that stupid kid stole the ball from Tony Tarasco?
Jeffrey Mayer year.
Yeah.
Yes. Your Orioles had to bow out early because of voodoo magic from the old Yankee Stadium.
Cal Ripken Jr. was at the newly named Kia Center the other day.
Oh, was he?
Yeah, I couldn't stop looking at the back of his head.
That's so awesome. I saw one of the Barstool guys opened a can of worms trying to say that the Cal Ripken consecutive game streak isn't that special.
Stop it.
I can't even get involved because that's giving them too much credit for creating a bogus topic. Come on now.
You don't know how bogus it is, and I know they're different sports. I'm just jumping all over the place. I do want to ask you about some March Madness stuff too. So when I saw Cal Ripken there, I thought, let me do some digging on who has the consecutive games played streak in the NBA currently. Which current player has played the most consecutive games? And the answer is Mikal Bridges. But this is how fictitious.
How about that?
He's at 400 something. I couldn't find an exact number, but at the start of the year, they wrote an article about it, and he was entering the 400s. And I don't think he's missed a game this year. But
so
one of the last,
the Chipotle diet must work. I don't know if it's true or not, but I heard Mikal Bridges eats Chipotle every day.
Really?
Yeah, so I guess it works. Or his genetics are just great.
I honestly, when I eat Chipotle, I feel pretty healthy, even though I know that I'm lying to myself. There's veggies in there, rice, what's
Right. I mean,
lean
I'm
meat.
thinking it's like genetically modified organisms, and you know, I went to like a organic version of Chipotle last night that hit pretty well. It's called Carnitas,
All right, there you go.
Central New
But
Jersey.
no, my point to that was that so he checked into a game last year at the end of the season, played for 4 seconds, and the NBA counts
Ah,
that as a game.
yeah, that's jive. I
It's
mean, it'll ruin
bogus.
your scoring averages and whatnot because you're getting zeros in there, but
Yeah.
that's not that.
No, in
Well,
baseball, you got to play 5 innings.
5 innings. I was just about to say, what is the qualifications? I should probably know this. I know that last year of the keeping the streak alive, Cal was like getting hit by pitches, and I don't know how he was staying in games to keep that streak going. But I guess that was another thing that even the Ken Rosenthal's of the world, who wrote for like the Baltimore papers back then, was saying Cal's hurting the team. He's being selfish by trying to, add to this streak. But when it was all said and done, it made for a great moment in baseball.
Yeah, absolutely. 2,632. Never that number is etched into my brain. All right, so college basketball. We're about to enter into March Madness. I'm starting to wrap my mind around some of the teams that I like. I can't really do anything until I Ouija board that bracket and
Right.
kind of figure out who I like that way.
That's
But
what it's all about.
are there a couple of teams where yeah, I'm in on them, I'm out on them, like some of the heavy hitters?
I think I've tried to change my approach completely based on how the last like 5-10 years have gone. I think I had 1 year where I had a nice bracket, but it really all depends on who they match up in these brackets. And I also can't lie to you saying that I've been the best college basketball aficionado. I've written some reports for broadcast, so I have an idea about some teams, but really, other than like the Rutgers colored lenses, Big Ten basketball, I don't know a whole lot else. So I'm thinking that's going to help my approach, where I can kind of just watch the college or the conference tournaments and then see who's trending the right way. And then once we see a bracket, I think I'll be better picking the bracket based on who's better late in the year. And then as far as like betting when the time comes, I don't think we've talked since Florida has legalized betting, by the way.
Oh,
It is
yeah,
still
it's been
legalized,
great.
right? Or they
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
Yeah, and then ironically enough, they ditched underdog and prize picks, so you can't do that form of betting, but
Interesting.
you can bet on the Hard Rock app. So it's
Yeah.
just created a lot of convenience in that
Live
way, just
betting
being able
during
to
the
do that.
witching hour of March Madness, I think that's the way. If you get involved
Yeah.
pregame, good luck. You might as well just be taking a game blind.
Yeah, but what I would always say to myself and anybody that's willing to listen to my betting advice for however much that's worth, live betting is definitely where it's at, but I think you have to live bet with a pregame approach, kind of have like a strategy. I'm gonna hop in on this game when it hits this point. If you like a favorite, but you don't want to take a -5.5 or 6, say I'm gonna hop in the moment they're in a deficit. If you have that sort of mentality, like for example, entering the Super Bowl, this was my live betting prime. I was like, the Chiefs are going to go down by double digits, and I'm going to bet the crap out of them when
I
they
did the
do.
same.
Yeah, you just felt it. You're like,
Yeah.
yeah, of course, San Francisco is going to come out with this stellar game plan, and the Chiefs are going to be able to come back and win. So it was the easiest game script to predict, but you had to wait and be disciplined to wait for that moment, and it paid off.
Right. Oh, my best player prop hit of my lifetime, probably. Put like $5 on Jawan Jennings and Marquez Valdez-Scantling anytime touchdown, and 5 turned into 200. That was pretty nice.
That's beautiful. I mean, I'm not certainly don't consider myself any sort of college basketball aficionado, but what I'll do is I'll watch sprinkles of the regular season and then start to ramp things up during conference play. I think I operate like most people with college basketball in that way, and then all of a sudden I'm doing like knee deep research once the brackets come out on teams that I haven't watched all year, like Iona or something. But
Yeah,
I'll write.
February is really the month to like get in, and I've done a bad
Oh
job
yeah,
doing it. I was even thinking equally how good the month of March is for sports. February's terrible. Like after the Super Bowl, basketball NBA goes on a break, and like if you're not totally ready to jump into college basketball. I mean, what else is there?
I
Spring
was
training. I
I
will
was
say,
watching a lot of combine.
yeah,
I don't know if either I need to re-up my MLB package or do they not show spring training games? I've been trying to watch these O's games and they won't let me.
not
I don't know.
everything is telecast. Ironically enough, they carried Yanks O's on the Yes app the other day, but it was actually the Masson broadcast. I didn't even know they were allowed to do
Oh.
such things. So they don't telecast every game. It's like, what's so hard about? In fact, they shouldn't even have broadcasters sometime. Just put up the camera and let the game play
Right.
out. Like
Look at this ESPN3 style. Yeah, I have no
yeah.
problem with that. I'm not trying to listen to anybody anyway. I just want to see how the players look, get my mind around
I mean, those
baseball.
games do get brutal after the fifth inning. Like sometimes you're blessed with like a legit starting type of lineup, but then by the fifth inning, everyone's out of the game, and then it gets very weird. And then there are games where nobody really plays from the jump. Those are bad games too. But I've watched about 65% of Yankee spring training games.
Wow.
Actually, I've watched 100% of the games that are televised. That's how it goes.
Well, I'm at 0%. I watched about 75% of the NFL Combine over the weekend, if that gives you an idea of where my life is.
Oh, yeah. I tried watching. I'm like, I can't believe I used to watch this. There's like not much to watch.
No, there's nothing going on. I watch it almost like it's almost like listening to an NFL podcast because you got Rich Eisen and Daniel Jeremiah and the other people that they bring in. And to me, I just use it as a way to familiarize myself with the draft board. Who's available? Who should I get excited about? And then every once in a while, somebody will pop like Xavier Worthy out of Texas with this insane 40 time. And you go, well, that was pretty cool. But yeah, now you have like when he ran the 4.21, the crowd went crazy. Like they have people in attendance for this. Who would go to the combine?
Funny. Oh, there's some diehards out there. I mean, I would go if I felt like I could meet with like GMs and agents and just to hobnob with those guys. But those guys are also busy too. So I feel like there's better times to try and link with those guys if you're going to do such things. I usually watch the combine when I did tune in for a little bit. I would do it while snacking. If like I just needed a couple snacks and I'm turning on the TV and MLB Network's not talking about anything, I'll flip over to Eisen and Jeremiah. And then, yeah, even if you're not watching it, you'll see on social media Xavier Worthy's running the 4.22, which is magnificent. It was a 4.21 and then a 4.22?
It was a 4.25, and then he ran a 4.22. I honestly think this will be perfect for you because you're a conspiracy theorist. I think they changed it to a 4.21 just for the headlines because they flashed 4.22 right after he ran it, which tied John Ross's record. And then after the fact, they switched it to a 4.21. It just felt a little bogus to me, but whatever. I mean, in terms of his speed, there's no difference.
They needed some hype. I feel like it is a weird year for the combine too because the most talked about players seem to be the quarterbacks, and you don't really learn a whole lot about quarterbacks at combines.
I've been burying Caleb Williams on the live show. I am not a fan. He is not. I'm not either. And you and I are the types that we usually buy into those quote generational types. When a guy is just that good at the college level, like, yeah, that's going to translate. I think he's going to be a really good player, but I see more Kyler Murray than Patrick Mahomes in this guy.
100%. I've been saying that since I ever saw him, and I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. I just think people have wanted to overhype him, and I hate the Mahomes comparison. Like, I don't think anyone can really be compared to Mahomes until it's obvious or proven. You combine like just kind of how douchey he seems to be.
Oh my God.
With like the uncertainties about some of the parts of his game, but I do think he can be good, and his personality shouldn't necessarily take away from what you think he could be. But he's not going to be anything other than the number one pick, right? So is he worth that? I don't know.
You know, my thing is, if you go down the list, and maybe it's unfair to just judge off of who's won Super Bowls, but if you run down a list of like the last 20 Super Bowl winners, it's a pretty good gauge of who's been successful in the NFL. The Mannings, Drew Brees, Tom Brady, Mahomes. You throw Nick Foles in there.
Yeah.
You know, they all have a certain sort of quality about them where you buy into their character. And you could see them, they're confident in their approach, but there's a humbleness about them that makes them relatable to their teammates. enough to kind of get you through the grind. I don't see that with Caleb Williams. He doesn't seem like the kind of guy that's going to like rally the troops at the end of a long regular season.
Like, you don't get flashy quarterbacks really winning Super Bowls. You know, maybe their play style is flashy like Patrick Mahomes, but like he's a football guy, you know, through and through. His dad picked up a DWI the week before. He's got Swifties running around, Kelsey's mouthing off, and all he does is just continue. His brother's crazy, his wife's crazy. All he does is continue to like play his ass off and stay locked in. It's truly a testament. Oh, I mean to ask you, and I don't know, we're going on about football. I'm sure we want to get to some Magic stuff, but the Dynasty on Apple TV. Have you been watching that?
I'm honestly shocked to say no, because I've been pretty into these sports documentaries for the last couple of years, but I haven't watched it. Give me the sales job on it.
You did get to see Man in the Arena, so
that's why I feel like I don't need it. Isn't it the same thing?
There's a good amount of overlap, but that's all Brady. This is like full on Patriots. You get a lot of Robert Kraft. You get some side Bill Belichick interviews. You get a little Wes Welker talking about how crazy Aaron Hernandez was. Teddy Bruschi's involved. I mean, Bruschi was actually a Man in the Arena too, but I don't know. It's a cool, like they go over the whole Bledsoe going down, and you get to hear from Bledsoe, and then where Brady takes over, and there's just certain things that I don't know. Maybe I slightly forgot. They don't really go over all the early championships that they won. They go over the first one, but these last two episodes were actually really bad vibes because they talked about the whole Aaron Hernandez situation. The first 4, I think there had been 4. They were really good. Maybe I'm not doing the best job on selling it, but
this is not making me want to watch it. I'm a little bit Patriots out, and I loved Man in the Arena. I highly recommend that. But after that, I feel like I felt like I left the buffet. You know, like I didn't need to go back for another plate. And
it's a nice
Boston sports in general. Like they've got this Red Sox documentary that's going to come out on Netflix. I don't need to watch another Red Sox story. I'm all Red Soxed out.
Well, I will say I think because quarterback went so well over the Netflix one last year that everyone's trying to do that. I think the NBA is trying to do one.
I just wish they picked a different team. I mean, first of all, the Red Sox are boring this year, and the Red Sox as a franchise have been covered so much in the last 15 years. I just wish they picked somebody else, but I'm sure that they'll do a good job on the production.
Right, it's more of like a Hard Knocks baseball style is what it sounds like with the Sox. Giolito just went down with a UCL today, so that's horrible news for Red Sox Nation. They were like relying on a guy who didn't look very good last year, but they're trying to do everything on the cheap. I don't know. Their ownership's very weird, so maybe we'll get to look into how bad ownership and what it's like from the top down over there in that doc. But yeah, I mean, there's just endless amounts of content in all realms these days. It is very consuming, so you got to pick and choose what you watch. I've been heavy on the Curb Your Enthusiasm lately, so sports is kind of taking a little bit of a rear view, believe it or not.
Wow.
Not that it's dominating every night, but I'm just trying to like not be as consumed by media. I'm trying.
Yeah, I mean that can be tough, and like you said, there's so much out there. So it's like, what does a break even look like when it comes to all of that stuff? But how do you keep up with?
Lying. I just don't want to watch too much NBA basketball because then I'm going to be tempted to take player props.
Bet on it. But how do you keep up with Magic games? Do you have the Bally app?
Not been as good lately, honest to goodness. I mean, I'm constantly checking box scores. I do have League Pass, so when I have the opportunities, I check it. I've been doing a lot of driving. I'm actually doing this live from my office. I'm like a full-time Uber driver right now. I just had to put money back into the car last week. I'm sort of driving it into the ground. Maybe not the smartest choice, but definitely following the box scores. It's pretty much still the Paulo Franz show. I've been watching a lot of New York Knicks lately. Don't hate me for it. Pops is a huge fan. I'm staying with him these days.
It's a fun team these days. I thought Jalen Brunson was done for the year the way that he went down the other day.
I know. I got to say, the way the Knicks are built, it's like everything I love about basketball. It's basically Villanova ball in the NBA, and they just got like the right guys. Dante always was a fan at Nova and seeing what he's been doing, Dante DiVincenzo. But they're dealing with so many injuries, and I'm not sure if Randall is ever going to be able to make it back. And OG and Anunoby might be able to make it back. But if they could ever get healthy, I don't see a better like two-way team that can beat you offensively and defensively the way that team would. Well, the Magic really good defensively. I worry about them offensively. But I really like kind of the balanced team that the Knicks have. I just don't think they're going to get healthy in time.
I mean, it doesn't look like anybody's really going to get past Boston. Milwaukee's starting to pick it up right now. I think there's a separation in tiers with the Eastern Conference.
Celtics are definitely good. I mean, I don't trust Missoula until they really show that they can do it in the playoffs. I mean, they did a couple years. They got to the finals. If there is going to be a year, it better be this one. But there's just something I don't trust about Tatum and Brown in like really important games.
Yeah, they just can't run into Jimmy Butler in God mode, and they should be okay.
Do what they always do. I don't know if they'll go to the finals, but I assume if they get in, they're going to make life hell for somebody. The Bucks,
yeah.
Doc is there to make them play defense. Like they're going to lose more games than they would have won with Adrian Griffin. I see why they did it. I just think Doc's a fraud. So they are playing better defense, but I do love Lillard enough to think that they might find a way, but I don't know if Doc's the guy.
It's so interesting with Damian Lillard because it does seem like he needed the All-Star game in the 3-point contest. As goofy as this sounds, it kind of woke him up. I think it reminded Damian Lillard that you're Damian Lillard.
Yeah, well, I think he just didn't want to step on Giannis's toes, so he really, I don't know, something about basketball, like even if you have a lot of game to offer, you don't want to get in the way. And really, it's like, hey, they went out and got you to be you. But I think Giannis still like needs all of the touches, and rightfully so. He'll drop 48 casually and stuff like that. But I do think Lillard is by far the more like dangerous, cold-blooded killer player out of those two. And I think Giannis should play more off him, dare I say, especially this part of the year. Like you don't want to run Lillard into the ground at his age. So I think they've sort of taken the right steps in terms of like ramping up. Lillard just had a huge game last night. I don't think Giannis played, so that was cool. But yeah, Lillard in the East, where I don't really believe in too many teams, a conference where I think the Knicks, if healthy, are the best team. That's where I think maybe the Bucks could do it. But in terms of the Magic, I think it's safe to say they're at least play-in bound. It would be a total shock if they didn't.
Oh my God, yeah, that's a lock at this point. They would have to free fall, which just isn't going to happen. They're playing such good basketball right now, and they're so much better than the bottom dwellers. They're beating up on bad teams, which is a mark that you're improving. They're winning home games by the caseload. They have 21 home wins already. And they're beating up on bad teams. Yeah. When you see them night after night against teams like Charlotte and Washington and Detroit as double-digit favorites, like that's good team respect. And then they're not only winning those games, they're covering those spreads too. They're definitely going to be in the play-in at the very least, but they have one of the easiest schedules in front of them. They play basically the entire month of March at home. I think they're going to, nice. I don't even think they're going to need the play in, honestly, just the way the schedule sets up.
That'd be huge. I'm thinking about back to the Shaq jersey retirement game. And that was like the game they finally got their shine, and it didn't really play out. It didn't play out the way everybody wanted it to.
And then they smacked the Knicks the next night, which was so funny.
Right. No, they needed to redeem themselves after that game, and the Thunder wasn't doing them necessarily any favors. They're a top team in the West. I don't know. With the Magic, it's been the same problem that I've like always had with roster construction. Just feel like they don't have enough shooting, and I don't know. I just feel like it makes life easier on you when you can shoot a team out of the building and you don't have to grind for every win. I mean, yeah, they've blown out some of the bad teams, but the floor spacing factor, I want to be able to do that, play two ways and space the floor a little bit better. But Anthony Black has won me over. I think I feel embarrassed about kind of like making fun of that pick a little bit. I mean, I didn't think he'd be a bust or anything. I just didn't think it was the right fit, but it's actually the perfect fit. And it almost makes Markelle Fultz and Cole Anthony feel like a waste of time in a way. I mean, he's not really that great offensively. He'll have his moments, but he's clearly like Weltman defensive prototype.
Oh yeah,
type of guard.
He's a really good
facility. Kind of a weird pick though.
Which one? Jet
Jet
Howard.
Howard.
Well, we haven't really seen him play yet. But
Yeah.
the weird part wasn't drafting Jet Howard. The weird part was passing on the guys that have already hit in the NBA so that you could get Jet Howard. Like Keontae George looks legit. Jordan Hawkins has had his moments.
Oh, I love me some Hawkins.
Jaime Jaquez is already like a star in his role in Miami.
Oh, and he would have been Weltman DNA too. Like all I needed to see was that he was athletic at the combine, and then I was ready to buy in. I didn't realize he was like that athletic. I thought he was just like a great college player at UCLA, and turns out he's one of the more athletic, tough defensive. Like he just brings that sort of lunch pail attitude, obviously with the Heat. And then Cam Whitmore has actually shown.
Cam's been really good.
Flashes.
He was the guy I wanted over everybody, and then he wound up slipping to 20 or something like that. The draft still sort of mystifies me, but I mean, you have nights where you've got Jet Howard in the G League, and Anthony Black isn't even getting minutes anymore because Markelle Fultz is starting to play a little bit better, so he's not been a part of the rotation at least the last couple of games, and the Magic are just built right now to win the way they're winning. It's kind of like this season has gone. It's been the best version of what you could possibly have realistically expected going into the year. They've stayed healthy.
Yeah. And
Paolo was in the All-Star game, and you don't even need the 2 first-round picks that you made. So that's exactly what you wanted.
Paolo's been so good, and I don't know. It just feels a little top heavy sometimes if it's like not Paolo or Franz saving the day. And you get guys open, like Gary Harris will make open threes sometimes. I'm
not hearing any love from my guy Jalen Suggs. What's going on?
He's not doing anything offensively these days anymore, it seems like. But he's carving out the niche. Early on in the year, they were he was being aggressive and able to put the ball in the hoop. Like, I want to see him erupt offensively a lot more because I feel like it's in there.
Yeah. We're seeing his 3 ball has gotten a lot better. He's up to like 38%. He was shooting 23% as a rookie, which was only 2 years ago. And so he's gotten a lot better in that regard.
It's really like aesthetically pleasing for him, and it's a quick release. And there are certain games. I think even that TNT game, he might have knocked down several threes. Clearly, that might have been the last. Those 2 games, that game, the TNT game, and the Knicks game the next night, are probably the last 2 full Magic games I've sat through. So I have not been the best fan, and I probably don't even have room to speak on the topic compared to so many. But I don't know.
Look, you and I were talking about this team every day for a year and a half, however long you and I did the show together, and what we were talking about and the potential we saw is what's actually coming to fruition right now. So
it is,
in a lot of ways, you're the perfect person to have this conversation with. True. Because we were talking about this plant when it was a seed, and we kind of saw it coming, and now it's basically here.
I know. I wish I could be there for like the official turnaround. Like they turned the season around last year, but it was too little, too late. This year, from the jump, they got themselves ahead of the 8 ball, and as good as this season's gone still, and you would know better than me, but like I always thought Fultz was finally gonna like turn the corner and be like legit, and I just feel like I can't really rely on him. And there's just like Wendell, he never I don't know what's going on there.
He's not popping right now. I am really impressed with the growth that I've seen in Jalen Suggs because he brings it on defense. He's arguably the team's best defender.
Oh yeah.
And he's knocking down threes. That's really all. And he brings the energy. The crowd loves him. He is this year's version. Remember when Bol would do anything last season and the crowd would go crazy? That's Jalen Suggs this year.
I hate the Magic. Like, I have hatred for whoever made the decision that Bol, like, he was a huge part of some of those winning streaks. And I've seen him get unleashed with the Suns recently. He looks great. Like, I don't get it. And I like Go.
He doesn't fit in. Here's the thing. I agreed with that. I agreed with your take on this when it happened because I thought this guy has too much potential to just let him go. But it's clearly working because the guys that he would be exchanging minutes with, Mo Wagner's played really well. Goga Bitadze has played some really good defense when they needed him to. Wendell, I'm not blown away with, but he's obviously a better player than Bowl is. But
I
yeah,
mean,
they just don't
Bowl,
have
like
room for him.
everyone I talked to was like, "Why the hell did the Magic get rid of him? Wasn't that your guy?" And I was like, "Yeah, he's a bit of a double-edged sword at times. Like he's either really good or makes really bad mistakes. But I don't know. I've seen him do things that I haven't seen other people do, and like it just seemed like anytime he did something bad, like everyone would completely forget about anything that he did good. And I just didn't understand that. Like he was on the wrong side of the politics. Don't really get it. It doesn't mean you have to play him in every matchup. Like the Suns don't do that. But on the right night, you got to unleash that man. I don't know.
I've had no one actually tell me this, but I feel like multiple people that I've talked to have implied it heavily that he was not a practice guy. And I think Mosley didn't like him.
Yeah, no, I
I don't like
have
from a professional standpoint.
from some sources via sources. I have heard
Sources.
that he's like lazy and not a hard worker. And I got there early before some games. I saw Bull working. I don't know. I don't know. He's kind of like a sad boy. I think he listens to like Lil Peep and wears like all black clothing and kind of he's a little emo. I
He
think
is
that
very
might have
emo.
something to do with
Yeah,
it.
for
But
sure.
that's my guy.
Sometimes the emo crowd needs to be poked in order to
Yeah.
kind of get a rise out of
I'm
them.
dying on the Ball hill. That's what it comes
Well,
down
we
to.
know. That's what we love about you, Tozzy. You'll die
Yeah.
on you pick a hill and you'll die on it.
I
But
mean, one of the more stubborn people, and usually the hills that I pick to die on are the craziest. But you know, it is what it is.
I love it. But yeah, I mean, I love the growth that I've seen from this team. I don't know what they're going to ultimately do this year. I think they make it into a playoff series without the play-in. It really comes down to who are they going up against? What does the health of that team look like? I think they could beat the Knicks in a 7-game series at their current
Oh yeah,
state. And
definitely.
same thing with Philly. Like if these teams can't get healthy, there's no reason why the Magic couldn't advance in the playoffs. But it all comes down to who they play and what the health status of that team is. You always want to come off the top rope in this business with the hard hitting analysis. But I genuinely
Yeah,
can't figure out what the upside of this team is entering into the playoffs. So I've kind of just laid back with laying any bold predictions out there about what this team can accomplish. I'm just kind of happy already with the way the season has gone. As long as they don't get smoked in the playoffs against whoever they play, I'm kind
yeah,
of good with the year.
yeah. I mean, if the goal this year, I mean, last year we sort of made playoffs or play in the goal. This year we were a year ahead of schedule. That's going to happen this year. So if that was the goal, then yeah, everything's good. I kind of wanted to see them like go for the jugular and make some moves at the deadline, but
I did too.
I'm a crazy fan, you know. Like I want to see the big names on the move. I want to see star power. I feel like NBA is a star power league. Like, you know, that's a conversation we've had a million times. And
Obviously.
I'd say more now than ever, it's about like creating the right basketball club where like you got guys in the right spots rather than just bringing in as many stars as possible.
Yeah,
Because then
look at
guys don't.
Denver. Like Denver's
Yeah.
got Jokic. That he's the straw that stirs the drink. Murray is a good secondary star, but they didn't go out chasing
Yeah.
stars. They built their roster properly, and then they became really tough to beat. And I think the Magic are trying to do that too. But the thing that frustrated me at the deadline, yeah, it would have been great had they gone big game hunting. That would have been awesome.
But
But
even just
they
bringing
needed
in
to find
shooting.
exactly. There
Yeah.
were so many shooters on the market. It didn't make any sense to me to not go just get a guy that's just a knockdown sniper. They're available for cheap. Like look at what I know you don't like Buddy Hield, but like look at what the Sixers
Yeah.
gave up nothing to get him.
Yeah, true. Yeah, and honestly, that's a team that could very much use Buddy Hield without Embiid right now. They need somebody to like pick up some scoring loads. And the more I think about it, I was like Buddy stinks, and I have thought Buddy stinks. I think because I've always expected a lot more from him. He gets paid a lot, and he just always leaves me wanting more. But if you bring Embiid back into that fold, and you give Buddy just practice 3-pointers, like in terms of being how open because of how much attention Embiid will draw, you know, that could be. It's just really a shame Embiid got hurt. I had never seen such dominant play from a
Oh my
center
God.
since
Yeah.
Shaq. I mean, Jokic was dominant enough to lead his team through to a championship. That was basketball at its highest, but the dominance and all around game that Embiid and Nick Nurse, sort of how they crafted that team was like, we're not taking away from Embiid. Like Harden took away from Embiid. Harden's doing a nice job with the Clippers, I may add, but like the more Embiid touches, passes, shots, the more volume from him is going to get him hurt. But really, it's like the most effective way to play. And I was just blown away by how dominant he was from every level of the floor, Joel Embiid, before he got hurt.
So before we wrap up this conversation, our first ever chat and chill episode on the Zoneheads Orlando podcast, which has been a ton of fun, by the way.
Yeah.
I was looking at figure since we've got my O's shirt on, you got your Yanks hat on. We would talk a little bit of team futures. So I'm looking at AL East winner. I'm trying to find it right now so that I can accurately describe this. Yeah, it's still like that. The Yankees are favored to win the AL East at plus 145. The Orioles at plus 220. Now, I love betting. I'll bet futures here and there, but I don't like the future bet to be too far out because I just don't want my money tied up that long.
Yeah.
But that is a bet that I really want to make. Why in the world are the Yankees favored to win the AL East? Is it just because they're the Yankees? What am I missing? Because it seems like, and I'm trying to come from an unbiased perspective, the Orioles look like they're built to really dominate this division. It's a tough division, but they're clearly the best roster.
Oh, I got a lot of thoughts on this. I really wish we could sit down with a beer and talk AL East for like 2 hours, but yeah, like that's definitely part of it. What's built in is the New York price. There's 1 million homers going in and betting on the Yankees to win the division, so that's going to skew things. But I do think with health, Judge and Soto has a chance to be like the best duo I've ever seen in baseball. Like in terms of hitting, Soto can't run the bases or play defense or anything like that, but his vibes are pristine in the clubhouse, and he has like the best at bats I've ever seen. He's taken 63% of pitches since 2018. I think it's the most in baseball by far. He has the highest on base percentage in baseball since 2017. Judge has the highest amount of home runs since 2017. So you're talking about a guy who's going to be always on base for the best home run hitter in the league. And if like the Rizzos of the world can just be decent, like he's going to have 1 million opportunities with both of those guys on base hitting after them. If the rest of the lineup isn't absolutely putrid, Volpe having a nice spring, need some Verdugo production, need Austin Wells to break out as a catcher, need Jason Dominguez to come back. That's a whole. Then you're talking about 2 dynamic hitters with like the most exciting prospect who still needs to prove more. It came up in September and tore it up. September is a little bit different of a baseball month, but Yanks have a chance to like really score a lot of runs. It's pitching that I sort of worry about with the Yanks, but Cashman usually figures out a bullpen, and Garrett Cole, you hope you can rely on him to do something similar to last year. After that, they're going to need some consistency.
Yeah, that rotation really doesn't impress me. And
Rodon
I
stinks.
love
Rodon stinks. I don't believe in him at all. Stroman can coast through some games. Like he's not going to be dominant, but I think if you score for him, he can get you through. Clark Schmidt's been having a nice spring, and he actually had a nice turnaround last year. They need to go out and get Snell still, and it would be like a nice – I mean, they're already over the luxury tax, so anything they pay is going to be through the roof at this point, but it would have been the perfect time to go get Snell on a short term. As for the O's, I mean, the Corbin Burns move really scares the heck out of me. Bradish got hurt, though, right? Is he going to be all right? That's pretty important.
I don't know what the diagnosis is, but they still have Rodriguez. They're bringing back for year 2.
Grayson's going to be good.
Yeah, Grayson's really came on at the end of the year. They brought up another prospect at the end of last season. He'll be part of the mix. Gunnar Henderson really came on strong. Adley already looks like the best catcher in the game.
Yeah.
I love the way the team is built right now. I feel like they have the right sort of energy, base running, hitting, pitching, like defense. Yeah. They kind of have all of the pun intended bases covered. When I look at the Yankees, I love the Soto edition. I'm a huge Soto fan. Like, how could you not be? But they still feel so unimaginative in the way that they are constructed. I found the Yankees last year, particularly, to be a really tough watch. They just felt like
Oh
a
yeah.
stagnant baseball team. And maybe the Soto thing is enough of a catalyst to where they get guys on base and they're more active in that regard. But I just felt like they played a really unimaginative version of baseball.
Well, I feel like
And
the right left balance by itself will help so much. It'll make that lineup very hard to navigate. You know, you got guys like Giancarlo Stanton where you don't know what to make of him. He seems completely washed. He did lose a ton of weight, but just the idea of having to go through like Soto, Judge, Rizzo's been hitting the heck out of the ball in the spring, and then Stanton. By the time you get to Stanton, it's like you've had to be so fine to three hitters in a row. If you make a mistake, he'll definitely do something. Probably hit into a double one hopper, 100 mph, one hopper double play. But so I mean, and they have some more young guys on the way in terms of like the Jason Dominguez. I think Volpe, if he just hits 260, he's an all-star. So if they, the only thing I feel like the Yanks are missing position player wise is like athleticism. If they can get enough athleticism where they can like run the bases, I think they're gonna hit. It's really the pitching. For the O's, like I just watched the 30 clubs in 30 days on MLB Network with them. They're at O's camp the other day, and they're definitely a swaggy, fun young group of ballers. I think like Gunnar, Adley, and two other young guys live together. They like talk about going hunting
that's
and
awesome.
fishing. Like it's like they're not even like seem like they're partying. They're just innocently incredibly athletic young players who like playing, who like going hunting and fishing. That's what you want. Felix Bautista out, but I really do like the Kimbrel pickup, and apparently he's been like really good in the clubhouse, being the vet, but being around the youth sort of makes him feel young again. Brandon Hyde's the man. So may the best team win. I feel like it's a nice sort of like Yanks O's could be the new rivalry. The Sox stink, and like even the vibe up there, like they won their championships. It's just not what it used to be. And then
with the Rays, I mean, like they finally opened up the wallet and paid somebody, and he's stuck in the Dominican Republic.
That's
with
so crazy
Wander
to me. Still,
wild.
I cannot believe that. And he was the prototype switch hitter, could do everything, and we got to waste the talent on that guy. But so the Rays are like bad vibes almost even because of that.
They'll find a way to overcome it though. They'll still be in the mix. And then the Blue Jays have all the talent in the world, but they're kind of like they're like MLB's version of the Clippers, you know?
Yeah, it's kind of a good comparison. I like the Justin Turner pickup, short-term deal for an OG who can still hit, but until they show something different. Yeah, I think, and I don't want to be a homer because me and my brother text about it all the time. It'll be like the middle of May, and we'll probably be texting about how much we hate the Yankees. But as for right now, like the Soto Judge combo, if they stay healthy and Soto's on a walk year, could be his best season of his career. I mean, he's been impossible to get out in the spring. He's been spitting on pitches a centimeter off the plate and then hitting the ball 440 feet to dead center. It's, my dad was like, oh, what's one player going to do for this Yankee team? And Andy won't even resign. Screw him. I'm like, Dad, watch this guy. Watch 2 months of at-bats from this guy and then get back to me. He's already like all in.
That's great. Dude, I've enjoyed this so much. It's always a blast being able to chop it up with you. We got to do it more often.
I know.
Create some sort of routine to this, but I'll let you get back to your Uber driving and
appreciate it.
We'll call it a show.
It's kind of in the zone taken to Uber rides. Like I'm talking these people's heads off about sports. I met a cool guy yesterday. He said he played baseball in the Army and they got a tryout for the Houston Astros. Would have made the team if he wasn't a 25-year-old shortstop. So he had like the best arm there. He was hitting homers. He met Craig Biggio. This is back in like 96. He was like, and Biggio came up as a catcher and turned into an infielder. Apparently this guy was a catcher, but turned into a shortstop. He was like, if you just tried out as a catcher, you probably made this team. Instead, they signed a 17-year-old Julio Lugo instead of him. But these are the sort of conversations that occasionally happen in these, or sometimes people will just be staring at their phone in complete silence, which I respect as well.
Yeah, I'm usually that person in the Uber ride, but I think that maybe the next Chat and Chill episode with Tozzi, we've got a passenger in the back seat. Just let them chime in every once in a while, like a caller.
That would be something.
Hey, this is Ryan from the back seat. First time, long time. All right,
I can see it.
Enjoy the rest of your afternoon. I'm sure the zone heads listening have loved this conversation as much as I have.
They might get at me for some of my Magic takes.
Oh, I know they will, but we'll do it again soon, my friend.
Magic takes.